This is TWiT.
I'm Jason Howell. How do you thank your hardworking team? Well, with a Club TWiT corporate subscription, of course. You can show your appreciation and reward your tech team with a subscription to Club TWiT, and that way they'll be informed and entertained with podcasts covering the latest in technology. With a Club TWiT subscription, they're going to get access to all of our podcasts ad-free, the members-only Discord, exclusive outtakes, behind the scenes and special content, and exclusive shows like Hands on Mac, Hands on Windows, and the Untitled Linux Show. Go to twit.tv/clubtwit and look for corporate plans for complete details. All right, Netflix, like I said, had its earnings this week. Things seem to be improving for the company with an added 2.4 billion subscribers globally. This after two consecutive quarters prior that saw first-time losses for the company. So it was kind of like, what's going on? The sky is falling. You know, everything's changing for Netflix. They had a good quarter, and that's a good thing for them. Joining me to talk about the shifting headwinds and the future plans for the company is Janko Roettgers from Protocol. Welcome back.
Sure. Thanks for having me again.
Absolutely. I always love getting you on. So let's talk a little bit about Netflix. First of all, the executives on the call, they were quick, I would say, to proclaim, and this is a quote, "Thank God we're done with shrinking quarters." Oof. I feel like when you say that, you're really taking a gamble. When you say we're done with blank, I mean, is it too early to take a victory lap here? What are your thoughts on that?
I know, it's famous last words, right? Nothing could possibly go wrong with that. I think they do have a little bit of advantage there, that they have some things going for them in the next couple of months. First of all, they do the new quarter has just started. We're like 20 days in now, but I think they have a fairly good idea of where things are going. And Netflix is forecasting now to add 4.5 million people, subscribers rather, this quarter. So that sounds pretty good already. And then next year, they have a couple of things, couple of initiatives. First of all, they're starting the ad-supported tier, which is going to be cheaper. So that's a way for people to maybe sign on to the service who want to save some money, especially now that everything is getting more expensive. That's a good thing. And then they're also starting to crack down, or as the company would like to put it, monetize account sharing, which then will force some people to think, am I going to give up on Netflix, or am I willing to pay a little bit to maybe add another account or subscribe for the first time? And I think that will also add a bunch more people to their subscriber base.
Yeah, right. No doubt. Well, you're talking about the crackdown on passwords. They've been testing this kind of new way, this new feature, or way to get people to pay. I think that obviously the big challenge here is that for years, Netflix really seemed to be kind of happy to allow that to happen, and now they're kind of undoing that work. But how does this system, this data transfer between accounts, which is kind of the new feature that I'm talking about, how does that work? What exactly is Netflix enabling with this new feature? What are they hoping happens through the implementation of this?
Yeah, so that was sort of a first step that they announced this week. Basically, anybody can now spin off a profile. So Netflix has had profiles for years where you can set up different profiles for different people in your household. But people have obviously also been using this to keep grandma on the same account without having her mess up your recommendations, right? So it's also good for account sharing. And now you can start to take one of those profiles and from within the profile say, take all this data and add it to a new account. Start a new account basically with all my recommendations, with all my past viewing, with everything that has been personalized for me in the past. That's being built as something that helps people, who, I don't know, break up, move out of the house, for whatever other reason, want to start their own account. But obviously it's going to come into play next year as well, when they start to really crack down on this and tell everybody who's been watching Netflix under the same account, maybe from multiple IP addresses, from multiple households, that they have to stop doing this and find other ways.
Yeah, and they were testing this. They had a few different trials. Like, did those trials, I mean, they must have gone well if they're moving forward with this. What kind of feedback do we know as far as how that fared and what it led to?
Yeah, so the company said that has been well received, very well received. They tested it in a couple of countries in Latin America. There have been anecdotal reports of people getting mad at it. And I would imagine once they start rolling it out, you will see both. You will see people being really pissed off about it because in the past, Netflix said, oh, it's fine. You can share your account. Don't worry. We have simultaneous streams, so you can't share with 1,000 people. We're all good with that. And now they're suddenly going to start charging for it. But they did find an interesting way, and they've been testing this out in a couple of different ways, where it doesn't feel quite as punitive, because instead of saying, oh, you have to stop doing this, or otherwise you're going to like block your account or anything like that, they're going to say, we noticed that you are sharing your account with other people, that other people are watching maybe from a different household under your account. Do you want to keep them on? Do you want to pay a couple dollars extra to keep grandma on your account or to keep your college buddy on your account? Or do you want to encourage them to maybe start over and start their own account? And in that way, it appeals to people's generosity, I guess, as opposed to like just punishing them for something that was okay in the past, which is a pretty clever way. Whether it's going to work with everybody, we have to see, but I would imagine it will be a net positive for the company in the end.
Yeah, and I'll be really curious to know what is the price difference. If I'm sharing my account with somebody else and then Netflix says, you can keep them on or they can pay for themselves. If they're paying for themselves, we know what that cost is going to be. That's going to be, 13 or, maybe it's the ad-supported tier, which we'll talk about in a second. But it's going to be, I'm guessing it's going to be more and probably a reasonable amount more than the added cost for an extra user on your account. I don't know obviously we don't know what those price differences are going to be, but kind of playing to the generosity of someone, that I'm in the position of being like, well, you know what, it's cool. I can just pay $3 extra for that person. When I meet up with them, they can, buy me lunch or something.
Exactly.
Something
and they haven't said yet how much it's going to be, but I would imagine it's going to be somewhere in between that. Maybe it's not going to be $3.
Yeah.
Maybe it's going to be a little bit more. But one way to think about it is right now when Netflix resells their service, or when you buy Netflix through Apple or through Google, through a third party, they get a 30% cut, right? So Netflix could say, we're going to keep that cut, but why don't we make it 30% cheaper? Why don't we make it 40% cheaper? So it's not going to be just like $1 or $2, I think, but it will be cheap enough to maybe if you're feeling good about it, if you have a couple extra dollars, you're going to maybe decide to keep somebody on there.
Right. So then let's focus a little bit on the ad-supported tier. This has been, in the works for a little while now. Now we've kind of, we have it confirmed. It's looking like this is going to happen. What does this plan actually look like? And do you feel like it's competitive enough or compelling enough for people who don't want to pay, $15 for a Netflix service? Are they going to be okay in your mind with the trade-offs of having an ad-supported tier, considering how many ads they're going to be seeing for the content?
Right. So it's launching next month, just actually in 2 weeks, I guess, in 12 countries. It will be $6.99, which is significantly cheaper than what most people pay for Netflix nowadays. In exchange, you will have to watch about 5 minutes of advertising per hour, or at least that's what the company says now. There are going to be like a few exceptions. The catalog won't be totally complete. So there might be some shows and some movies that you won't be able to watch on the ad-supported service, because it turned out when they contract with other companies, when they license content from other movie studios or from TV networks, they didn't include that in the original contracts, and sometimes they didn't want to go back and renegotiate that and pay a lot more. So some of the content won't be available, but obviously we'll be able to watch all the Netflix originals on that and a bunch of other stuff as well. And I think the big thing that Netflix got going for it here is really the price tag, because ad-supported services that you also have to pay for, it's not entirely new. HBO has been doing that for a while. So you can subscribe to HBO Max with ads, but that's $10 a month. And Disney is going to launch their own Disney Plus ad-supported plan in December, I think. But that's going to be $8 or $7.99. So Netflix is really undercutting the competition here, which is quite remarkable, because so far it's been one of the more expensive services out there, especially when you compared it to what Disney Plus started with and all those things, or when you compare it with an Apple TV subscription.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I mean, they just have so many originals that even if it's a limited library, but it's all the Netflix originals, for a lot of people, that's exactly what they're signing up for anyways. They want to see the next season of Stranger Things or whatever the case may be. So that makes a lot of sense. Now, we also have some big news that we haven't even touched on yet, that Netflix is confirmed to be looking into cloud gaming. This has been something, a topic that's been thrown around, I'd say the last couple of years, like what if Netflix, got into gaming? What would that look like? This would be another avenue for its service. What kinds of games, what would this even look like? What do we know about its cloud gaming ambitions?
Unfortunately, we know fairly little about it, other than that they're going to do it. There were some hints earlier this year, and then finally this week they confirmed that they're looking into it. It was pretty much a confirmation that they're going to launch it or go with it. We know from what they're doing in mobile so far that they're basically trying pretty much everything, throwing stuff on the wall at the wall, and then see what sticks. So there's very casual games. There's games connected to Netflix titles. There's like odd stuff like SpongeBob SquarePants Cooking Club or something like that. I may have butchered that title, but things that you wouldn't really expect and that don't really appeal to hardcore gamers necessarily. I would imagine that they will go for some titles that look like hardcore gaming titles or AAA gaming titles there, because they really want to go onto TVs. They want to go onto other environments that people usually play games on that have game consoles. So it's not just about a casual mobile game that you play 5 minutes, but it's going to be there where you play your other games on TVs, on PCs, appealing to a gamer audience, I would say.
Yeah, and I think that's the more compelling offer of the two, right? Like mobile games on our phones and everything like that. That's, we've been there, done that. But if Netflix was to offer some sort of Stadia, rest in peace, but Stadia like experience through the Netflix app that we already have running on our TV, that would be super compelling, right? That might actually be the missing piece that Stadia wasn't able to get, some sort of, very major, already widely adopted vector for people to be exposed to this kind of technology. One thing that strikes me, though, is VP of Game Development, Mike Verdu, admitted that games wouldn't rely on the standard TV controllers, and that's super important. In my mind, if they're doing any sort of, cloud gaming play, offering that through their apps, they need some sort of a game-focused controller. So, I mean, do we have an indication that's what he's referring to? Is he saying it wouldn't be the standard TV controller, it would be a game controller, or he hasn't been clear on that at this point?
I think so. And Mike Verdu was at TechCrunch Disrupt this week, and he got asked about that pretty specifically. So are you going to make your own game controller? Do you want to make your own hardware, stuff like that? And he didn't want to commit to that. I could see them maybe also just say, oh, we're going to support third-party Bluetooth controllers. There's plenty of stuff out there already. Maybe you can recycle your Stadia controller. Who knows?
There we go.
But it makes a lot of sense because we've seen this stuff in the past. I think many, many years ago, Roku did this weird deal with Angry Birds where you could play Angry Birds on your Roku streaming stick, and nobody does that. It's not a good experience. It's weird with a D-pad to play really games for a long time. You want a game controller, right? If you really want to play games, you want to have a game controller. You want to use the same stuff, and also on PCs, obviously. People who are used to PC gaming don't just want to, use their keyboard. They want to be able to use game controllers and all that stuff. And to appeal to that audience, they have to support that kind of hardware.
Yeah, I would say so too. It would kind of be a big misstep if they came out with something that was anything else. And I, as I'm thinking about it right now, I don't know what else it could possibly be. Some in between a TV controller and a game controller. I don't see them doing that. So I think you're right. There's got to be some sort of major kind of gaming controller play. That remains to be seen. Janko, really appreciate you taking time to talk all about the many movements happening with Netflix right now. Janko Roettgers, of course, writes for Protocol.com. If people want to find you online, where can they find you?
Again, on Protocol, that's our number one, the best way to find me. Otherwise, just Google me, Google my name, and you can find me on Twitter at JANK0. But Google my name and you can find me on all the platforms.
Right on. Thank you again, Janko. Have a wonderful rest of your day. I appreciate your time.